Assalamualaikum and good morning to Sir Ibrahim. My name is Mirul Kari Imran. I'm from Group 6 and we are from AM2261A. Today, our group will present our group assignment for ADS404, Introduction to Public Administration. And our topic is about federalism and administrative system. So now, for the introduction, I will talk about the definition of federalism and the definition of administrative system in Malaysia. First of all, for this assignment, our main focus is on more on federalism. So what is federalism? Federalism is a system of government where there is a mix or compound mode that combines a general government. Easy to say, basically federalism is a system of government in which the same area of land is controlled by two levels of government, which is the federal, or we call it as national government, and also state government. Both of these governments are responsible to govern the issues that affect the entire country. So the smaller subdivisions, provinces and cities will govern the issues of local concern. What about administrative system? So administrative is a process of implementing policies that have been enacted for the purpose of achieving organizational government objectives, while system refer to a set of components that are interconnected and work together to achieve certain goals, which refer to Kenegaraan Malaysia 1988. Malaysia, our country, practices a system of parliamentary democracy and a constitutional monarch. His Majesty, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, acts as the head of state. The federal constitution was drafted and became the source of power and the main legal sources of the country. This is for complement to the formation of the country. Now, I will talk about the background of federalism. So, federalism in Malaysia. By referring to the Federalist, the first list, Malaysia is a parliamentary democracy with a federal constitutional monarchy. The paramount ruler, which commonly referred to as the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, is the head of state and the leader of the Islamic faith in Malaysia. This monarch is selected for a 5-year term from among their own number by the 9 hereditary rulers, which is sultans of Peninsular Malaysia. The government in Malaysia is most often referred to as the federal government. The federal or central government is the ultimate authority in Malaysia and located in Putrajaya. Federal government of Malaysia is based in the federal territory of Putrajaya, with the exception of the legislative branch, which is located in Kuala Lumpur. Malaysia has 3 federal territories, or wilayah persekutuan, and 13 states. It is operating within a constitutional monarchy under the Westminster parliamentary system of government. It is also categorized as a representative democracy. Now, let's move to the functions of federal government in Malaysia. Basically, there are many functions of federal government in Malaysia, but today I will talk only 5 main functions of federal government in Malaysia. The first functions of federal government in Malaysia is to provide a court system. This mainly to resolve conflicts and not interfering with the court system. The government must provide the necessary civil servants or bureaucrats. This is to help run and maintain the managerial aspects of the court system. The second function of federal government is to defend the nation. Our nation, which is Malaysia, need to be defended in peace and wartime. They also need to maintaining a navy and air force, army, marines and coast guard service such as Angkatan Tentera Malaysia, ATM or TUDM, Tentera Laut Diraja Malaysia. The third function of federal government is to maintain law and order. The government are focusing more on policing, maintaining laws and order, prevent crimes and drugs-related crimes. The example of government that show this function is PDRM, which is Polis Diraja Malaysia. This will help our system to maintaining their law and order. For the next function of federal government is to provide diplomatic relations. These relations need to be bonded with other nations such as Singapore, Indonesia, and Thailand, and so on. Federal government are setting up consulates and embassies while maintaining good relationships with other countries. This includes regulating laws with regards to international trade and travel. For example, through Ministry of Foreign Affairs, embassies or consulates. The last functions of federal government is to provide public health service. This is to ensure a healthy nation and citizens. They need to prevent diseases, care for the sick, injured, and elderly. The responsible party, which is Ministry of Health, is part of federal government, where they're always playing their role to conduct researches in health, such as HIV, cancer, COVID-19, and Ebola.
Next, I will continue the presentation on operation agencies. Operation agencies exist at the federal, state, and local government to implement the various government policies and development programs for the well-being of the people. The first one is federal agencies. Federal agencies consist of the various ministries, federal departments, and federal statutory bodies. Each ministry is headed by a minister. The highest executive secretary officer is commonly known as the Secretary General. Head of department are given the title Director General. Head of statutory bodies are often called Chairman, Chief Executive Officer, and Chief Information Officer. The second one is state agencies and local government agencies. State agencies and local government agencies consist of state departments, state statutory bodies, and local government. The term public service does not include special institutions. Federal and state agencies do provide support secretarial services from time to time to these commissions to facilitate their functions. The last one is operation agencies. Operation agencies consist of the administrative system in Malaysia and can generally be divided into four main bodies. The first one is ministries and department. The ministry is the highest level of administrative system, followed by the various departments which are placed under the ministries. In Malaysia, there are 27 ministers which are tasked with formulating various development programs and projects for the development of the nation. For example, Prime Minister's Department, Minister of Home Affairs, Minister of Finance, and Minister of Health. Next is statutory bodies. Statutory bodies are agencies or bodies set up by law, which is authorized to enforce legislation on behalf of the state or government. Statutory bodies are established with the objective of implementing certain duties, roles, and responsibilities in line with the government objective. The board of directors and managers of the statutory bodies are usually appointed or suggested by the government. Examples of statutory bodies are Bank Negara Malaysia, Malaysian Industrial Development and Standards, and Industrial Research Institute of Malaysia. Then, non-statutory bodies. Non-statutory bodies are private companies established in accordance with the Company Limited Act, such as the Company Act 1965. Non-statutory bodies are not subjected to government control and free to make decisions deemed necessary for the survival, development, and progress of the company. Profit and shareholders' well-being are usually the main agenda of the company established. Example of non-statutory bodies are Malaysia Airline System, Tenaga Nasional Berhad, and Proton Holdings Berhad. Next one is public bodies. Operation agency refers to all the public bodies, bureaus, and agencies at the federal, state, or local government level, which by law should adhere to, follow, and implement the various government policies and development projects. Example of public bodies operation agencies in Malaysia are Federal Land Development Authority, Kedah Development Authority, and Federal Agriculture Marketing Authority.
Central Agency. Malaysian Central Agency is important. Central agencies in Malaysia is crucial as it helps assist the government in formulating various policies, controlling, monitoring, and coordinating the various development projects and programs. Two examples, objectives, and responsibilities of the Central Agency is in Malaysia is to formulate the public policies with regard to economic planning of the state. On top of that, central agencies develop and formulate the basis and needs of various government, departments, and agencies, and play an important and a very vital role of personnel management, to name a few, by developing and formulating public servants and positions. Therefore, the coordination and control by the central agencies tend to encompass a few important aspects of functions with over the various operation agencies. The main aspect is to examine public servant service scheme, grade, and positions, examine and scrutinize the annual economic development programs and projects of state, and also the 5-yearly economic policy of state. The next aspect is to explore the estimate annual budget of state. Then, central agencies also enforce financial regulations and public service, coordinating the various formulation of public policy, programs and projects. Its implementation is also one of the main functions. Lastly, is to analyze and investigate public complaints and feedback with regard to the various government projects and programs. In addition, the central agencies, or also known as federal agencies, are responsible for formulating the national and economic policies and master plans. The public sector human resources, which is the personnel and management functions, and supervising and monitoring to the implementation of the various projects and programs of the government. Approximately, there are 6 types of the main central agencies in Malaysia, which are Public Service Department (PSD), Federal Treasury, Economic Planning Unit (EPU), Malaysian Administration, Modernization and Management Planning Unit (MAMPU), Implementation Coordination Unit (ICU), and the last one is Sociology Economic Research Unit (SERU). Moreover, another central agency in Malaysia is Institut Tadbiran Awam Negara, INTAN, or known as National Institute of Public Administration, also part of the PSD. The Malaysian Public Service Department's training division is called the National Institute of Public Administration, INTAN. In September 1959, it opened a small training base in Port Dickson under the name Staff Training Center. Officers were trained at the center in office management, local government management, and others. The National Institute of Public Administration, INTAN, located at Jalan Elmu, was officially founded in June 1972 as a result of the awareness that government personnel needed specialized training. In 1983, a few branch campus such as the Northern Regional Campus Intura in Sungai Petani, Kedah, the Eastern Regional Campus Intim in Kemaman, Terengganu, and the Southern Regional Campus Ikwas in Kluang, Johor, were founded as an outcome of the quick growth and INTAN training in the 1980s. The INTAN Central Campus in Bukit Kiara, Kuala Lumpur was launched in 1984. INTAN Jalan Elmu changed its name to Central Regional Campus in Tengah. The creation of 2 additional regional campuses was therefore required due to the rising demand for INTAN's training programs. Sabah campus was developed in Kota Kinabalu, Sabah in 2001, while the Sarawak campus was created in Kuching, Sarawak in 1999. The vision of INTAN is to be a premier public sector learning institution, while the mission is to develop a competent public sector workforce, quality learning. Then, the responsibility for INTAN is to provide training for the behavioral enhancement, developing skills and information improvements of public servants, as well as undertaking study, advising, and publication operation to develop individual skill and encourage positive thought. Furthermore, as a form of organizational chart, a director is led INTAN and helped by the senior deputy director. Although the senior deputy director has to be split into 8 types of sections. For instance, Economic and Public Finance Studies Center, Management and Leadership Studies Center, Research and Consultancy Studies Center, Coaching Development and Advanced Studies Center, Public Policy, Project Management and Governance Studies Center, Information Technology and Technology Development Studies Center, Communication and Language Studies Center, and Post-Service Training. Hence, by giving the information and skills To the staff, it shows that Intan is able to provide certainty of the relevant as a training center. The course that Intan develops can contain short duration courses such as computer competency, which involve Microsoft Word, Excel, and so on. However, for the long-term study is Diploma in Public Administration, Diploma in Strategic Studies, and others. The training given includes management, social development, and many more. Workshops usually will be held in order to give knowledge and skills to public servants for facing the barrier in modern public administration. Not only that, Intan also has brought in the tactical plan for 2011 until 2015. There are 7 things that are covered in this plan, which are quality learning programs, competent trainers, quality of infrastructures, effective management of practice, best expertise, excellent consultancy and advisory service, well-nurtured research culture, and lastly, strategic partnership and networking.
Okay, I will explain about my point is the structure of government machinery in Malaysia. Federal government is composed of 3 main branches, which is executive body, legislative body, and judicial body. My main point is the executive branch. The executive branch of government is the administrative branch, which controls the various state agency and apparatus. The political executive, which includes the power of cabinet and the ministry, is appropriately dealt with under administrative law, and studies of the bureaucracy are conducted under the rubric of public administration. This branch doesn't have the right to intervene in the legislative or judicial branch of the state. This happens due to principle of the separation of power. The executive has the power and authority to generate revenue through the collection of various taxes, levies, fines, summons, custom duty, and fees, to name some from the general public, and to be used for the development of the nation. So next, I will explain the next, which is a function of executive branch. The first function is to formulate national economy, policy, and development programs. The executive or cabinet is responsible to formulate various development programs and projects for the development of the country. For example of economic development policy in Malaysia, the new economic policy we call NEP, the National Development Policy, NDP, and the National Vision Policy, NVP. Second function is to set the budget and finance of the country. The government is allowed to generate revenue from the people through the collection of taxes, fines, summons, custom duty, and fees, and so on. The government is allowed to plan for the various development programs and also to allocate the resources for these development plans and programs. The third function is as an arena for suggestion, debates, and criticism. The cabinet is allowed to discuss almost any issues of national interest, except those that touch of the special rights of the Malaysia, Bumiputra, and royal privilege. The last function is to propose and amend the law. Law is proposed by the executive and introduced in parliament with the first, second, and third reading for approval. Most of provisions for the amendments of the constitution requires a 2/3 majority of the total number of members from both Dewans. There is the approval from both the Dewans are required, Dewan Negara and Dewan Rakyat, with a 2/3 majority for amending constitution. The bill must be presented to YDPA for the final assent.
The next is the legislative branch of parliament. In Malaysia, the legislative is made up of lower house and the upper house, which is consisting of representative of people and assisted by Prime Minister to enforce the law. The legislative is a type of representative deliberative assembly with the power to create, amend, and approve the law. Legislative are the laws that are established by the parliament at federal level and by the state legislative assemblies at the state level. Parliament is known as a centre to discuss and to decide in making a law. The power of legislative body is with Parliament, which is consist of YDPA and the two assemblies of Parliament. Function of the legislative branch are to enact the law, to amend the law, to repeal the law, to formulate policy and development programs. The next is the judiciary in Malaysia. There are generally two types of trials, criminals and civil. The hierarchy of court begins from the magistrate court, session court, high court, court of appeal, and finally the federal court. The jurisdiction of the court in civil or criminal matters are contained in the Subordinate Court Act 1948 and the Court of Judicature Act 1964.
Okay, this is one of the example of action that have been taken by one of the federal government, where the Ministry of Health doing their roles and act to solve COVID-19 problems. So basically, what happened is there are COVID-19 outbreak in Malaysia, and actions have been taken by the Malaysian government through Ministry of Health. Actually, coronavirus disease 2019, a novel phenomena disease, is originating in Wuhan, China. It is confirmed by the World Health Organization (WHO) on January 12, 2020, before becoming an outbreak in all countries. So this situation have been spreading. A stringent screening process at all airports in Malaysia was enforced after the first case outside China was reported in Thailand. So the first wave ending successfully within 2 months, but in early March 2020, the second wave occurred with worrying situation. So the actions that have been taken by Ministry of Health, the government of Malaysia enforced a movement control order starting on March 18, 2020. This is mainly to break the chain of COVID-19. The media actively spread the hashtag stay at home, and the non-governmental organizations as well as prison inmates started to produce personal protective equipment for frontliners. Various organizations hosted fundraising events to provide essentials mainly to hospital. So this is one of the actions that have been taken, and this is one of the example that we found for our assignment, and it is how the one of the federal governments take the actions to help our country.
So now for the conclusion of our group assignment, we have learned so many things about federalism and administrative system in many aspects. Through research, we know that federalism are very important. We also learn about the background, function and elements of federalism in Malaysia. As a concluding remark, the three organs of the government, such as the executive, judiciary and legislature, have respective important roles to perform in the public setting of the state, such as in ensuring the smooth running of the various government organizations, separation of power, ensuring social justice, social equity, and so on. So that's all from our group 6. Thank you, sir.